Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Barry Robinson and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. The In My Opinion Show is also seen on Comcast Cable Television, Channel 17, Flint, Michigan, every Saturday at 6 p.m. and Wednesdays at 8:30. The In My Opinion Show is also seen on Detroit Comcast Cable Television, Channel 68. Please consult your community calendar. We have a very important show for our millions of viewers worldwide. But first, let me introduce my capable co-host, Ms. Denise Smith Allen.
How are you, Ron?
I'm doing great, Denise.
Good.
Gun violence. Should guns be allowed in schools, classes, by school officials, including teachers, or is the nation becoming too paranoid by school shootings? Mass killings are often a family affair. More than 900 people died in mass shootings during the past 7 years, and the majority of them were killed by people they knew, according to USA Today analysis of gun-related slayings. The 934 deaths account for less than 1% of all gun-related homicides, and 40% involve a suspect slaying a family member. The examination shows USA Today combed through FBI records and news accounts to identify 146 mass shootings since 2006 that matched the FBI definition of mass shootings, where 4 or more people were killed. A separate analysis of 56 mass shootings since 2009 provided USA Today by a group of mayors promoting gun control reaches similar conclusions. More than half, 57% of cases examined by mayors against illegal guns involve domestic violence. The group, co-founded by New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, is made up of more than 850 U.S. mayors. Mass shootings are the tragedies that capture the public's attention. Mark Glaze, director of Mayors Against Illegal Guns, said, "But every day, 33 Americans are being killed, mostly with handguns and distressingly often by family members or intimate partners. The new data comes as policymakers attempt to address gun violence in the wake of the December 14th mass shootings in Newtown, Connecticut, that killed 27 school children and 6 adults at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Public revulsion over the massacre has spurred Congress to weigh a renewal of the federal assault weapons ban and to consider other gun control measures." Now, mass killings have been going on since recorded times, all right, from the 1700s. Now, I don't agree with these rifles that have 30 or 40 in the chamber, but I don't think that the Second Amendment will be overturned. Unfortunately, I don't care. I mean, I care, but it's not going to matter, all right, as far as the Constitution is concerned, how many children gets killed or how many massacres occur, and that's a shame, okay? But these 535 folks up there in Washington, and the president are not going to change or change the Second Amendment. Denise, what is your thoughts?
Well, Ron, I really agree with what you're saying in terms of the Second Amendment being changed. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is something that is a fundamental right that was set up by the framers of the Constitution, dealing really with the idea of having a militia that would be available in a time of war. Okay? America, in some regard, has had and this is aside from the mass killings, but they've had situations now, whereas we've had people who have come to this country or who are cells in this country, and we may have problems with that as a result. And what I mean by that is that we may have little wars that go on within inside the United States, and people do not want to feel like they cannot protect themselves or their families. Okay, so that's one argument. The other argument with regard to the Second Amendment, it doesn't really impact the people that we're speaking about. And in regards to that, what I mean by that is that we have a fair number of people who have weapons illegally. Okay, they have bought the guns either off the street, have traded them for a variety of different things. So they're not going to be affected by the Second Amendment one way or another. These are outlaws. These are people who are engaged in criminal activity and that kind of thing. And so regardless to what's going on, they're not going to be impacted. Okay, the person who is concerned about the Second Amendment are more than likely law-abiding citizens who feel as though they're going to be challenged about being able to protect their families. Okay, so there is I think the controversy. So therefore you have people on both sides of the aisle arguing about this because it's a very emotional issue. Now, when you start thinking about the mass killings that have happened, and if you refer back to the one that just most recently happened in December, you're dealing with a person who had mental health issues, okay? However, in that situation, from what the news reports indicated, this person, mother knew that this young man had some mental health issues. Instead of pushing towards getting the help, which she probably thought about at the 11th hour, again from the reports, it seems as though she was trying to help and placate him and getting him engaged with actually learning how to use weapons. Mm-hmm. She herself was a gun owner. And so that to me was like a serious, a terrible situation to be put in for any family, to have a person who doesn't have the mental capacity to relate to people, and then you put them in a situation where you train them essentially on mm-hmm. how to use a weapon. You've set up a situation where it worked against. Sure. And then certainly in that situation, she was the first person to lose her life, but then because of his mental state, he goes and does this.
But also, too, the vast majority, from my understanding, from news reports and so forth, these guns that have been used for these mass murders were bought legitimately by the parents or other family members. Now, you need a cop in every house in order to stop this. You know what I mean? Hopefully, but that wouldn't work either. To stop a lot of this violence. But unfortunately, we live in a society. This country was built on violence.
Absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And this is the nature, all right, of America. America is one of the largest gun producers in the world. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like millions of guns are manufactured. Here in the United States.
Okay.
So, to me, I don't see it happening, in terms of, because the NRA is not going to stand for anybody messing with the Second Amendment.
Well, again, like I said, if people understood why the Second Amendment was created, mm-hmm. Most would not want it to be touched. Again, this is a very emotional issue. Okay, I think we have to separate the fact that, people bearing arms is one thing, mm-hmm. but the other idea of people having assault weapons when we don't have a war going on here. I mean, people don't need to have assault weapons. Period.
Well,
What's the point? What's the point of them
Okay.
having them?
Let's take this another step further. All right, with the climate in this country and around the world. All right. Now I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'll probably get some hate emails, but so be it. Wouldn't be the first. Probably won't be the last. But if you got guns, keep them. If you can buy more, buy them. All right. I don't agree so much with Vice President Biden talking about getting a shotgun. I mean, that'll still kill you. Okay. But we've got to protect ourselves. All right. The cops aren't protecting us. The government is not protecting us. Okay. And the minute that the government takes control, all right, of collecting guns, then we are at the mercy of the government. All right.
That's understood.
And I certainly don't want to see that happen, because you have some rogue people, in high offices, all right, that just soon put us in concentration camps. You know what I mean? Just look at us.
Well, that's true, Ron. Well, that's like I said, we have two sides, or at least I have two sides of looking at this issue. And again, I say that most people who are in favor of the Second Amendment, leaving it alone, are more than likely the law-abiding citizens who are the ones who go hunting and, have a lot of, they're collectors of guns and that kind of thing. I don't have a problem with them. I really don't. Okay. But my concern is the assault weapons. And if assault weapons, the access to assault weapons, when you think about a lot of gang activity, you think about a lot of these just young people on the streets, they get into a situation where they get in an argument or whatever, they're pulling out AK-47s. Where would they get those kind of guns? Okay, they're accessible. Okay, arms are on the streets. Arms are being, passed around pretty much willy-nilly. And so my concern is for those kinds of weapons in the wrong hands. But we're talking again about people who are 99.9% criminal element, okay? And you're not impacting them with laws, let alone, anything else. So they're not going to be impacted by this.
Not at all. Not
at all. So for those persons, NRA or anybody else, who are legitimate gun owners, and they may be collectors of guns, I have no problem with that. But you have to know who's in your house, who your family members are, and making sure that if you've got people who have mental health challenges, or you yourself becomes incapacitated, somebody has to have a plan for how to deal with those weapons in the home. Okay? But this is a very emotionally charged issue.
Oh, sure it is.
Very emotionally charged issue.
And I feel terribly. I feel terrible about about the havoc and the misery that that it's caused. Not only with these 20 children, but anybody that gets killed through violence. But this might sound like a conspiracy theory. All right, what I'm about to say is, could there possibly be, the government and colleges and so forth have these think tanks, all right? Now you've got doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, all right, that can give people certain medications, all right, or program them, okay? Now, could that very well be happening with some of these people? Okay? And then they're hypnotized to the point where they don't remember the suggestive questions or the suggestive demands that were put on them. Okay?
Okay. Well,
and then you get these mass things just so that you can perhaps maybe change or somehow change the Second Amendment. You know what I mean? Because people are up in arms.
Absolutely.
Okay, all
Absolutely.
over this, okay?
I would hate to think that.
It wouldn't be the first time either.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying I would hate to think that, these young lives and other people who have lost their lives tragically are considered collateral damage in order to prove a point. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you're alluding to, is that there may have been some kind of collusive thoughts by the government or whatever.
Like 9/11.
Yeah.
But that's another show.
Yeah. To put everything in place so that they would have an argument, because let's look at it, Ron, and and I'm not necessarily making this a black and white issue, but I want you to hear me, that we have young people who are getting killed every single day, on average, throughout the United States, probably 100, 200 people who are being killed by weapons.
350,
okay.
As New York Times reported, around the country.
Every day. Every day. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here it is. Like I said, this is kind of the scenario. Mm-hmm. But then you have a mass situation that you're describing right now, Sandy Hook, and mm-hmm. When Miss Gifford, the Congresswoman,
sure.
There was a few other people also who were there in that area and lost their lives. Each one of those individuals, okay, from what we know, from what the media has reported out, these people had mental health issues mm-hmm. that were either being addressed, had been addressed, may have been put on some type of medication mm-hmm. and that kind of thing. Now, what you're saying is, could the doctors have suggested that they go out and do this? Maybe
not their particular doctors, but
right, but
somebody
maybe,
else.
Yeah, or perhaps government intervention mm-hmm. along with this to be, it's pretty diabolical, and I don't put anything past anybody anymore. The more I see what's going on in this world, I'm not surprised by too much. I don't know,
Well, the Tuskegee experiment was horrible too, but it
happened.
Government sponsorship,
absolutely.
Also, too, the Brady Act. Okay, mm-hmm. Why wasn't it brought back? It was allowed to expire. If it was so good, mm-hmm. you know what I mean? Why was it allowed to expire? That was put in place because of the attempt on President Reagan.
Right.
All right.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
So I just I don't own a gun. Mm-hmm. I got a couple baseball bats. All right.
Uh-huh.
And the only knives I have in my house are butter knives.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Spread jam on some toast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I guess back to the Brady bill. They want to bring it back. What purpose did it serve?
Well, I think again you're dealing with a very emotionally charged mm-hmm. Situation, and the assassination attempt on Reagan was what spearheaded that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have a whole different Congress now. You have a whole different mindset of the people. In terms of what they feel about their weapons. Mm-hmm. Okay, so again, you don't have the people in office right now who are pushing, quote unquote, a liberal agenda, if you will. Okay, they're not pushing that. So therefore, it expired. They didn't have the support to even bring it up.
Mm-hmm. And they're saying they don't have the whispers are that they don't have support to bring it up again for it to pass in the Senate.
But it's not.
It's
not because
mm-hmm.
most of the people, the pendulum has swung another way, mm-hmm. and we have a Republican pretty much in the houses in the Congress, so they're in the majority, and at this point they're dealing with their constituents. And their constituents are, for the most part, people who are interested in maintaining the sanctity of their home.
Sure.
Number one. And so if they have weapons in their home to protect their families, they're not going to be interested in giving those up.
Absolutely.
And then you have, like I said, those who are avid hunters and people of that in that regard, they're not interested in seeing it because, like I said, in their minds, you're taking away their ability to take care of themselves.
Exactly, to protect themselves.
And so that's not going to happen. All right? But I'm not really concerned about those individuals.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about the guy on the street, the hustler on the street, somebody out here slinging drugs, doing whatever, and he's got something stuck in his waistband, all right? And most likely it's a weapon that he did not purchase legally, okay? Already probably has a case for having a gun like that in the first place, so he definitely shouldn't have it.
Okay.
And then he's out here, the first thing that jumps off, he's going to use that before he uses his head. And so somebody's dead, and then he's catching a case for murder. You see what I'm saying? So it goes on. And I don't know if I have an answer for you, but I just know that the argument that we have about the Second Amendment and the rights, I don't think there is an argument. Because the way the framers of the United States put that out there, they put it out there for one main reason, or I would even go as far as to say there might have been a second reason. Okay, the first reason, again, a militia.
Sure.
To make sure that people could take care of themselves. Okay, but then, and I don't have the exact date, but anybody who wants to look at it can look at it for themselves, and if they have an argument with this, they can certainly call the show and talk about this. But the second thing is that this was during slavery. Okay?
Sure.
And so part of that may have been to make sure that there weren't going to be rebellions that they couldn't control.
That's exactly how it happened.
Okay, so therefore, that's the second reason. So, again, a very emotionally charged issue that I don't think that there is going to be an answer or an easy answer for any of us to come up with right away. But that's what I see, and I don't see it going anywhere.
I don't either. And for those that think President Barack Obama, you know what I mean, it's gonna change the Second Amendment, I got news for you. He's not. Okay? And because he can't. That's the bottom line.
Really?
He can't. Okay? Him and all the rest of those politicians up there, they can talk that shit if they want to, but all they're doing is singing to the choir, okay? And maybe they're doing it because it was a horrendous act, but, you know, they got to think about getting reelected too. So, you know, there's politics that plays a big part in this. We're going to change gears here. What about these damn gas prices? Okay? Now, I don't understand. Who in the hell left the gate open? CEOs their bonuses are in the millions. Gas companies, their profits are in the billions. We, the taxpayers, are subsidizing these oil companies that are already making billions of dollars in profits. Why? That it boggles my mind. And when you ask somebody, they're talking about, you know, emerging markets, you know, such as China and India. Well, now, since our program originates in Michigan, now, the gas prices are rising every day, okay? Now, I paid $4.01 for gas this morning, and the word is that it may hit $4.50 before summer. Now, and then President Obama in his address to the nation said that America is 40% less dependent on foreign oil than ever before. So why is the gas prices still continuing to rise?
That's a good question. That's a good question. And again, we will not have all the information that we need to make a good assessment of that situation. But I will say this, that if we are using our own oil, okay, it's as simple as supply and demand.
Sure.
And if we are limited in our own resources, then they're going to increase the price. I mean, that's just it. The second piece would be the idea that they're really trying to get the American consumer to purchase vehicles that are run by other than gasoline.
But Denise, who in the hell can afford them?
I
was down at the car show in Detroit. You know, $40,000 and $50,000. All right, for these cars.
Yeah.
Who can afford them? That means 50,000. Let's just use this figure, $30,000 a year. All right. Well, your payment is going to be almost $1,000, or maybe even more.
Perhaps.
Now, I couldn't afford it, and I know a whole lot of people that make a lot more money than I do. Maybe you can afford it.
Not at all.
Okay, I certainly can't. Okay, so it just boggles my mind, you know, and we subsidize these oil companies. Okay, this has been a great conversation, and we will revisit this gas situation and gun violence again. I want to thank our technical staff and my more than capable host, Mr. Neesmith Allen. This is Ronald Berry Robinson for the In My Opinion Show, saying until next time, stay focused.